literally with the way that technology is now, there's game-changing opportunity for small business if it's done right. And I think small business really needs to understand that. And
Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today, our giant is coming from you from the warm, sunny state of Arizona. He's down in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, Andrew Seeley, and he is the CEO and founder of Creatively Disruptive, a digital marketing firm. They've had their best year in 2020. Because they are the small business champions. They focus solely on small businesses, which, need as much help as they can these days. And we're going to talk about specifically digital marketing as it affects the fitness industry, gyms, studios, trainers, all of that stuff, and the ins and outs, some of the changes that are coming down the pipeline to get you prepared, some of the changes to Apple, Google, Facebook, all the major players in the digital market that you need to be aware of, because right now, more than ever, you need to be marketing because it's hard. The market has changed and it's harder than ever to get clients into your gym or into your studio. And now they have digital options. Do you want to hop on board of those digital options, or do you want to just focus on solely brick and mortar, all those things? So we're going to talk about digital marketing and as applies to small businesses, specifically studios and gyms. So Andrew, welcome to the show and thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate it.
you're welcome, Jim. It's my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and Creatively Disruptive and why you guys do what you do. What's the mission statement behind the Small Business Champion?
Sure. Well, I've been I'm a funny talker. I'm originally from New Zealand, right? So I have a bit of an accent. My partner's actually from New Zealand, lives in New Zealand. Most of the team actually lives in the United States. We have a couple of team members in New Zealand as well. But we've owned and run small businesses. I owned a gym for 8 years. And my wife is kind of like the gym expert. But we, together, I guess, because she owned it means I owned it. We owned a gym. We understand that, that membership subscription model inside and out. We've been hit by tough times. We owned our gym when, when the Great Recession happened in 2008 period, which was really another tough time for everybody. It feels like we just get out of the tough times and get jumped into another one. And I also, I've worked in television, I've worked in a little bit of radio and publishing magazines and so forth. And my client base has always been small business. So I've been a small business. I mean, Creatively Disruptive, I'd love to think is a big business, but it's not. It's a small business of 15 employees. We're a small business. My whole career pretty much has been either serving or being a small business. So I really feel that I'm quite attached to that. The other thing is from a reward standpoint, some of my small businesses that I've owned or run actually served large businesses, right? Like corporates, especially in my publishing business, we were serving pretty much hotel chains and stuff like that, which, you end up being just a vendor that they don't care about. Hard to build really good relationships, especially in the hotel industry where people get churned out, managers and everything just get churned out all the time. And what I love about what we're doing with Creatively Disruptive, and we've been doing it for some time, is that we actually build relationships with people. So, when we're working with a local gym or, we work with like remodeling companies, electricians, we have restaurants that we're working with, funnily enough, during this period, we started working with restaurants and started getting them some good results. We're gluttons for punishment. We like working with the guys that are struggling. But they're all small businesses, and we can actually, when the success starts hitting, we can actually see the results. We can see them being able to afford to send their kids to college. We can see them being able to buy that car that they haven't purchased for 10 years because they were struggling. We can literally see the benefits and that our clients are getting from the work that's being done, which is really, really rewarding, much more rewarding than adding, $500,000 a month to another corporate entity's bottom line, which you don't really see any change with that, right? If you add a $500,000 to your bottom line, I'll see it. I'll see Jim suddenly buying a new house, or a new car, or whatever. Walking around with some bling around his neck, and I'm like, hey, where did you get that? Or, hey, this is things are good. Thank you, Andy. And it's a lot more rewarding, and I think my team enjoys it a lot more. And we can make, I think, literally, with the way that technology is now, there's game-changing opportunity for small business if it's done right. And I think small business really needs to understand that, and your listeners and viewers really need to understand that if they're not doing smart online marketing, which often means that they've got to find an expert and let them do their job, and not be a micromanager. Because one thing that I've seen with gyms is there's sometimes ego involved. And sometimes those gym owners are like, well, I want to do this, and there's a battle. Whereas from a marketer standpoint, we understand that, my long relationship with Jim Adams, as if I'm your marketing company, is going to be pretty much on the results that come through. Right. If I get you consistent results, I mean, you're going to be good friends for a long period of time. If I get poor results, we might get on well, but you're probably not going to continue doing the marketing, right? So, allowing your expert, if they are an expert, and that's a whole nother question, to do their work. It's a little bit like if I come in and I come to your gym and I start telling you how to get me the results that I'm looking for.
Well, let me tell you something, Andrew. Let me tell you something. Speaking with over 30 years experience as a personal trainer, that's exactly what happens, because the clients that we get are type A personalities, right? They're used to being the boss, being the alpha, and so they approach the training session the same way. And so then we have to, do the art of training, of saying, no, you're paying me for my expertise, and this is what I recommend. So it's the same thing. And I can see that with gym owners. They try to reinvent the wheel, and I see that a lot, especially with digital, well, with every aspect, but these experts come with these tried and true systems and protocols. And then they say, yeah, but I want to make it personal to my gym. And you can, but you still have to follow the system and the steps, because it works, right? You change one thing and it may not work, correct?
Right. See, with me, the things that we can change is the branding and the slogans and the colors and the imagery, right, to fit your gym. What we don't change is the process with which to find the audience, get the audience, and drive them to wherever you are. So, to give you an example, and it's going to sound like bragging, but this is the reason why we had such a good year in 2020. And it's a little bit embarrassed. I feel embarrassed sometimes when I say that we had a great year in 2020, because I know some people had a terrible year in 2020 and possibly lost most of everything they had for no good reason of their own. They did nothing wrong, but this thing happened, and governments made decisions, and businesses got closed down. But the reality is, all of the clients that we're working with, including restaurants that are in California, all of our restaurants are in California, believe it or not. All of them are doing well. Well, when I say doing well, doing better than their competitors, right? So we haven't lost a client for 18 months. We've had some client pause.
Yeah, so let's dig into that. So because when I first started, dealing with Facebook for my business, for my studio, I was just like boosting posts. I didn't even know how to build out campaigns and do all of that. Now I'm working with a company, and they've worked with me, and we built out some campaigns for the January rush, and we had a really good month. We've gotten so far 13 new clients this month.
Right.
So, and this has been our best month since March of 20.
Yep.
So it's definitely it's working, but you know, there's so many changes, you know. So let's get into what are those, like those restaurants, those gyms that are doing better than their competitors. What are they doing differently
some of it
from a digital marketing standpoint than their competitors?
Right. Some of it is that the competitors are just doing nothing, right? Some of it is their competitors are like, well, we're doing what
from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just doing what we always do. And unfortunately nowadays we've got to learn to pivot. We've got to learn to do new things when things happen. We can't just sit there getting punched in the face and go, well, I'm not going to dodge and weave. I'm just going to sit there and continue getting punched in the face.
Right.
We've got to pivot. We've got to change. And, you know, from a restaurant standpoint, what we see is their competitors are not doing much at all. They're like hunkering down, closing up, spending less. And what ends up happening is in that space, there's a lot less voices, right? And that's what's happening right now, if I'm honest. There's a lot less voices because so many small businesses are just like hunkering down. And that's leaving a lot of cheap space and opportunity for those that are prepared to spend, right? So it's never been cheaper, and you've never got as many people to be in front of than right now, because those states that are locked down, or those states that have semi-lockdowns or restrictions, and which is most states have some kind of restriction, and many people, even in states that are quite open like Arizona or Florida or whatever, people have been so hammered over the head by the media terrorizing them, you know, for some good reasons, other times not. You know, we can argue about that in a different way, but
no, we're not going to go into that at all. We're not going to touch that one.
Right. People are concerned, right, because of how they've been spoken to for a year, which means their how they were operating pre-pandemic has changed. Their routines have changed, which has caused them to be a lot more homebound. And with that means that you know, these are getting picked up, right? And people are looking at them a lot more than ever before. And we're seeing that in the numbers. So we're seeing that there's way more people online. There's way more people on Facebook. There's way more people searching. The search numbers are up. There's more of. You know, this Christmas was a really good Christmas, like from an economic standpoint, right? I was expecting it to be a bit of a worse Christmas, because for obvious reasons, but this Christmas was nearly equal to 2019, which was a record Christmas. But the sales were online. The sale, like Amazon online sales, was through the roof, like crazy growth. You know, brick and mortars obviously hurt. They didn't do very well, but it just was because people went from purchasing in brick and mortars to online, and the numbers still stayed pretty strong. And a lot of that was because there's so many more people online, and obviously people aren't wanting to go into places as much as they wanted to. So what we're seeing is a mixture of, like, the difference between those that are surviving and thriving and those that are not is the willingness to go, okay, I've got to pivot. I've got to do something different. I'm going to spend money when people aren't spending money, and I'm going to get my voice out there, and it's going to be heard a lot clearer because there's a lot less chatter, right? If you are a fitness gym in your local area, there's a good chance if you go on Facebook and market to a 10 square mile radius, no other fitness gym is marketing. So you're the only one. And in many people's minds, you might end up being the only one that's, you know, they don't know that there's 7 other ones. You're the only one, right? And then they hear about how you guys operate, the quality of the staff that you have. You tell stories about yourselves, and people start going, okay, well, hey, if I want to start working out, that's the only one that I know of, so I'm just going to go there, right? And they don't know of anything else, and that's a big opportunity, I think, right now. And I think gyms, small business owners that are smart will take that opportunity, because it will allow them to maybe take some market lead in their areas.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be around forever, right? At some point, things are going to turn around and people will get back in, and that
Mhm.
opportunity will go away. But once you've kind of like taken that market lead and you're a market leader in your area, it's going to be difficult for those that's come on later because they were hunkering down to catch up to you. And
Yeah.
so I'm very much in the mindset of right now, if you can afford it and you have, or you can, if you've got your PPP money or whatever, if any of it's left, definitely put it into some marketing. One of our gyms that we work with, for 3 months after they reopened, added 100 members a month for 3 months. And a lot of that, we believe, and we were like blindsided by it. We're like, holy, I'd love to think that that's just regular numbers. And hey, if you work with us, you're going to add 100. But we believe it was because one, there was just no one else. No one else was out there. No one else was advertising. And they really, they hired a professional salesperson, not like a fitness trainer who's good at
Hmm.
sales, but an actual pro salesperson to deal with the incoming inquiries. And
Hmm.
they converted. Um, and we're as things are opening up more in the area, their their numbers are decreasing because there's more voices, there's more competition. Costs are going up in their area because the way Facebook and Google works, it's all about an auction, right? So
Right.
if you Jim are the only player and you're the only money that's available for Facebook to take, you're going to be per impression, you're going to be paying a lot less. And it's usually by 1,000 impressions. And we've seen the lowest cost for impressions that we've ever seen in the history of doing this,
Mm.
between say June and now. But we're starting to see that impression cost slowly go up as businesses start reopening. So,
Yeah.
you know, I can literally say that most of our clients are thriving.
Mhm.
Are they doing what they want to do? No,
Yeah.
no one's really doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the reality is that when you said it, I mean, it won't last forever, but it's going to last for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not going to come
most
out
of
of
this
this.
year,
We're not going to come out on the other side of this for quite some time. I
right?
don't think we'll come out of it in 2021. I
Right.
think it's going to be until sometime 2022 when we come out of this.
But then you've
So
also
this,
got the habits that
yeah,
never change.
and well, but this is the market. I mean, this is the
Right.
market as it is now. So that's what you have to deal with, the market as it is now. So you
Yep.
need to act accordingly. So
Yep.
I agree with that. But let's get into the weeds, if you will. Let's get into some of the specifics because face like Facebook advertising on Facebook is tough anyway, right? If you're running ads, building campaigns on Facebook, I mean, you have to know the rules, you have to be up to date on the rules. But now there's complications because of the changes that Apple is making, and it affects
Yep.
both Facebook, Instagram, and Google, correct?
Right. So I can talk about a couple of things. I'll talk about some best practices when talking about Facebook, like just generally, regardless of pandemic, regardless of stuff. There's some best practices that you've got to kind of adhere to. Otherwise, Facebook, especially the fitness health industry, they are very particular about this industry. It's very easy for fitness gyms to get into trouble with Facebook, with some of the tactics that sometimes you use. You got to be thoughtful about it. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but talking more about the technical things about what's rolling out now with iOS 14, which is the new operating system for the iPhone. iPhone, I think it's about 40% of the market, or 35% of the market has an iPhone. The iOS 14 is a new rollout, which is going to have a part to it. Lots of good things about iOS 14. One thing that, depending on what side of the spectrum you are at, is a good or bad thing, is their privacy policy update that they're going to have with the iOS 14, which will allow users to block any app from having any data from their phone, which will restrict the ability of Facebook and Google and the different platforms that use the data that's incoming to remarket and and give the algorithm power to actually be able to maximize your advertising dollars. So that's coming through. What we believe that at worst it'll have about a 25% impact, because a lot of people are going to be okay with data. I mean, I like getting ads that I want to see. I don't want to get ads for things I have no interest in. If I'm on Facebook, I like going onto Facebook, seeing what my mom's doing and my sisters are doing, and then seeing an ad that pops up and, oh, that's interesting, I didn't know about that, and learn about it. I like that about Facebook. It's actually part of my experience is the ads, because the ads are very tailored to me. I don't want that to go away. But there are some people out there that are very concerned about privacy, and especially the way some of the social media platforms are behaving lately. There's going to be a lot of people. It's poor. It's kind of difficult timing, right? Because a lot of people are pissed off with the platforms, and then suddenly Apple rolls out a thing where people can block off the platforms. I'm not particularly happy with some of the things that the platforms are doing, but I'm not worried about the data side of things. For small businesses, that's going to affect our ability to retarget. The retargeting options are going to be more limited or more confusing or more difficult to kind of like do well. Which kind of takes it out of the hands of the small business owner who's, I mean, you're a fitness guy. Your core knowledge is based around building better bodies, right? Not necessarily marketing, although you probably have a little bit of an understanding of marketing because it's the nature of being a small business owner. But your core knowledge and your expertise are in, getting people into a healthy state. And that's going to be a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult because of that. Will it be something that will take Facebook off as a great platform for small businesses? No, it's just not going to be as good. And Facebook done well has been tremendous, like eye-poppingly, life-changingly good if it's done well. Unfortunately, most small business owners don't do it well, or they get marketing firms, or it's usually not marketing firms, it's usually freelancers who work by themselves who do it. And my partner yesterday was talking to our team, was talking to a potential customer of ours yesterday, and he actually summed it up really well. He said the problem with Facebook is that it's very technical. You need to be very technical. You need to be very creative. You need to be good at video. You need to be good at graphics. You need to be good at copy. You need to be good at data and analyst. A good data analyst. You need to be able to have an element of finesse to bring these things together. And we don't believe that there's a singular human that's good at all of those things. And that's why oftentimes working with an agency, you'll get way better results, because we have a person who's a wonderful graphic designer. We have a person who's good at video. We have a person who's great. I mean, we actually have a full-time employee. All he does is crunch the numbers. He's basically an accountant mindset. He would be terrible at designing an ad and writing good copy, but he's very good at analyzing the numbers and saying, here's the trends, here's what's going on, here's where we need to go. And then there's someone else who will write the copy and put the video and the ad together. So it kind of takes a team of very specialized experts in each part to actually build a great Facebook campaign. You do that though, and it's tremendous. Now, what we think is going to happen with iOS 14 is we don't really know until it's really rolled out. It's just started to roll out last day or two. But as it starts rolling out, we think it's going to take it from tremendous to great, or tremendous to good. So I don't think it's going to be horrible. I do think it'll be a situation where if you're like, Facebook's okay, you're going to end up having bad numbers, right?
Yeah.
Because you're starting at meh, and you're going to go down to ugh, right? But
yeah,
if you're starting at this is awesome, you'll probably still get good results. We're starting to see we're playing around with lots of stuff and trialing lots of things, and we're starting to see some things that we can work within the system, how it's changing, just try and keep a lot of the good results. But it's becoming so much more technical and so much more mathematical, and that I think the disappointing thing for me with Facebook and being someone who really cares about small business is, I'm going to be really happy if we have 200 small business clients, right? We've got nearly 100 right now. If we get to 200, I'd be really happy. There's 10 million. I can't help all of them.
Yeah.
So, a lot of small business owners are going to need, either need to find somebody, or they're going to need to become very technical Facebook experts to get the tremendous results.
Well, I mean, you said something really key that I think a lot of people don't forget. It's not just the marketing. It's what's on the back end of the marketing. Because you were talking about that gym that you're working with, that is working with you for their digital marketing, but they hired a professional salesperson, not a trainer or a staff member, to handle the incoming leads. And that's, I think a lot of small businesses fall short more so on the second one than the first one. I think they're willing to go out and farm out their digital marketing, but then they don't create a system on the back end to really handle the leads in a professional, systemic manner. So it has to be both. So when you talk about, if you do it correctly, right? And I think a lot of people are not doing that. They're not to that level, right? So what are some of the basic mistakes you see small businesses making when it comes to the digital marketing, other than not having a back end system to deal with the leads?
I mean, a lot of things is, the boosting. In all honesty, boosting is a waste of time unless you're doing all of the audience and targeting correctly. Boosting is basically just giving money to Zuckerberg. If you're not targeted who those boosted posts are going to, you're going to have 90-year-old grandmas that aren't going to be working out with you, getting your ads. You're going to have 15-year-old high school kids who aren't, who are playing Xbox all day, getting your ads. You're going to have a whole bunch of people that you don't want to get your ads. And as a small business owner, every penny that you spend must go to the person that's most likely to purchase from you. And in a like, let's talk about where I'm at. I'm actually just a little bit outside of that area that you were talking about in Phoenix, but out the town that I'm in, it's about 100,000, right? There might be, of that 100,000, there might be 10,000 of them that are serious, that they would about their health and wellness, and there's 10,000 of them that would actually spend money on becoming a better version of themselves, or already are. So we don't want to be spending our few dollars that we have on reaching the other 90,000. We want to reach those 10,000, right? So getting away from just this blanket, just throw it out into the 100,000, because the reality is, if you've got, let's say you spend $20 a day, $25 a day, $30 a day, which is often kind of the mark. $30 a day is $1,500, right? Is that right? Yep. 900. Well, it's $900. $30 a day, $900. So $30 a day, you got $900. If you're a small gym, that's a definite cost, and you want to get a return on that. You can't just spend $900 right now and not get a return on it. If you spent $900, the average cost per thousand, let's say, is about $10, which we've seen it lower than that lately with the pandemic, and that's why it's been so good. But typically you're around about $10, which makes it easy math for us. So $10, 900, we're looking at what, 9,000 people that we can reach, or 900, about 9,000 people that we can reach. If we're getting in front of 9,000 people, and that 9,000 happens to be all part of the 90% that aren't going to do business with you, your marketing's not going to work. And that's what often happens with Facebook marketing and with Facebook boosts. What we want to make sure, the first step is make sure that the audiences that you're going after are only the people that are most likely going to do business with you. And that's where suddenly you start getting results, because all of a sudden we get 9,000 impressions, and it's going to the 10,000 that are most likely to do business with us. And we might even step it up a gear higher, and we go, you know what, we don't even want to reach all of those 10,000, but we want to reach 3,000 3 times a month. because that gives us more chance when you see repetitive stuff, right?
Right.
So I guess step one is making sure your audience is tight. And the way you make your audience tight is Facebook is a psychographic media. So what that means is it's all about interests. It's all about what Jim's interested in. So if we know that if we built a profile of your perfect gym client and we write down 10 to 20 things that those people are really, really interested in, that people who aren't going to do business with you aren't interested in, we can actually plug those into Facebook, and then that's how we kind of like narrow it down to that group. The other thing is, and this is where the change with iOS 14, hinders it a little bit, but remember there's still 70% of phones that aren't iPhones, so it doesn't totally squash Facebook's tremendous abilities. But the algorithm takes that data and then puts a whole nother spin on it to actually get even more accurate. But if you can guide Facebook in the right direction right from the beginning, so Facebook has some kind of clue of what you're trying to do, then you get much better results. The other thing that I'd want to share is in the health and wellness business, you must avoid doing before and afters. Can't do comparisons. Can't show bodies. You can't like show, somebody who's fat and then somebody who's skinny. That breaks the terms of service. You do that too often, Facebook will lock you down. And Facebook's very aggressive now, more than I've ever seen it before. And they not only lock you down, but go, you're locked down and you can never come back again. That kind of stuff is happening. So you want to avoid that stuff. What we suggest that you do is showcase, the wonderful staff that you have, because ultimately you've got a service, right? Showcase the great equipment, showcase how people feel about your gym. So talk to do video of members that love your gym talking about what they love about it, so people get a feeling of, what am I getting into here? Jim seems like a nice guy, his staff seem like good people, the equipment looks really good. Hey, the customers seem to say lots of really good things about it. Facebook's okay with that. Facebook likes that, right?
Yeah, and maybe some educational content as well.
Yeah. Don't have people walking around with their top off, with their shirtless. Don't show before and afters, even though it's very tempting to do.
Yeah, and you can't say weight loss or fat loss either.
Oh,
they'll kick that out.
No.
Yeah.
But you can tell personal stories. So, I'm probably a little bit overweight, right? So if I started working with you, Jim, and I got into better shape, I could talk about my experience. Hey, I met Jim, we did this and we did that, and within and after 6 months, I'm feeling so much better, and I feel stronger and healthier. I'm able to do all it. That's all good because it's my experience. What we can't say is, and you can't also say, hey, if you come to my gym, you're going to lose 20 pounds. You can't say that. I mean, most of you probably know that, but you want to avoid that stuff. And especially right now, because Facebook is in a very aggressive mood for people who break terms of service, as you kind of know, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I just recently got my business and the podcast out of Facebook jail. So a couple months back, I did the podcast on a local guy who organized all the local micro gyms, studio owners and everything, and lobbied the local government officials and health department to look at small studios as a different animal than big box gyms, and to not put us in the same category when it came to shutdowns, restrictions, on and on and on.
Yeah.
So the title that I gave the episode was Why You Have to Be an Activist for Your Gym. And not only did Facebook reject every iteration of that ad, it banned me from advertising.
Yep.
And then I had to submit my driver's license. They had to snail mail me an authorization code. Then I had to have a signed and notarized affidavit that I am Jim Adams. and I had to send all of those into Facebook to get out of Facebook jail. And it took me a little over a month to before I was able to advertise again. So actually just yesterday I got out of jail. So yay. But yeah, but you're absolutely right. Facebook is not messing around.
Right. And to give you another example, during the election, we have a client that sells jewelry and stuff, and we were gearing up for Christmas and doing the thing, and the jewelry is made by women that have recently been rescued from sex trafficking, right? Because it's a cause, because 40% of the revenue is being donated back to those women to help rehabilitate them and so forth. Facebook thought, basically the algorithm and they were, decided that it was a political cause and blocked and shut her down. And we had to jump through 6 weeks of hoops to convince Facebook that no, this is just a good cause helping women. Help, there's nothing bad about this cause for you to shut it down, because they were so concerned about it being political that they shut you down. So you're going to be very thoughtful about it. And this is why, it sounds
because they're going to assume you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why I say, and it sounds self-serving being an agency owner, but if you're serious about growing your business and driving real business, and I don't think you should do any online marketing unless you've decided that this is I need to get serious about it. Don't play with it because you'll just waste your money. If you're going to get serious about it, you really need to hire an expert. It's a little bit like, I was mentioning off air, Jim, that it definitely is getting into the world of, if you're trying to, do anything legally, you don't try and do it yourself. You actually have to hire a lawyer,
an attorney,
right? If you're dealing with major tax stuff, you don't try and do it yourself. You actually have an accountant. It's actually getting into those weeds, because things are getting so complicated, and it can be so devastating to your company, because 95% of people making decisions are doing it online. They're not looking at yellow pages. They're not looking at signs. They're not looking at billboards. You might think it's cool because you drive by your face every day. The reality is it's nothing compared to what Google or Facebook can do for you at half the price. And you don't want to be locked out of that. And so, finding an expert that knows their stuff is critical. Now, that's a whole nother conversation about finding someone who actually knows their stuff.
Right. And I want to get into that. But first, I want to get into Google, what Google can do for you from that standpoint.
Yep. So Google, like Facebook and Google work well as a pair together. I think you don't want to have someone separate doing your Google and someone different doing your Facebook, because you want the system to work together, right? And you almost want email marketing worked into the whole system as well. So that's why, again, an agency with lots of different skill sets is good. But what Google is a reactive medium. Facebook is a proactive medium, right? So Facebook's good at putting the idea in Jim's head that he didn't think of. Facebook knows that he has an interest before Jim even knows that it exists. So we can put that idea in the head using Facebook. Google is Jim's decided he wants to work out, so he's typing into search for a gym nearby, or he's trying to find whatever, and that's a high intent client, right? So every small business, regardless of it being a gym, if it's a car, body shop, hey, how do I fix a dent? If it's a whatever, it should be on Google. Google is a real good friend of sucking up the high intent purchasers that are looking to do business. Back in the day, we'd pull out the yellow pages and look for a thing, and that's why you'd have all those companies called A11, auto glass or whatever, because that would be right at the beginning of the yellow pages. Nowadays, it's about having really good keywords, campaigns put together, and then taking care of your reputation, because people forget about that too. So what I mean by that is, your gym, if you want to be the dominant force, you want to have a great reputation, right? Because reviews can kill or make you.
Yeah, Google reviews.
especially Google reviews. So when someone types into Google and types a search for, gyms near me, right? Which is, it's actually will fill its own thing. You type in gym and it will actually just key in near me. When it all comes up, you want to make sure that you've got those 5-star reviews. You want to have a lot of 5-star reviews because that will be a separator between the 3 other guys that have paid for that ad space, right? You
So,
also
so that
pay a
that
little
that
bit.
yeah, that brings up a good question because I also wanted to ask you about SEO and if that's still a thing, and does the Google reviews play into your SEO?
Search engine optimization was a term back in the day that was about making sure that the search engines really ranked you higher, right?
Hmm.
Search engine optimization, let's say 12 years ago, was very much based on what other websites were saying about Jim's website. So, the Google algorithm was all about if people are talking about Jim must be good, right? And there's some logic to that. So if somebody, if there's a website linking back to Jim's website, then hey, and if there's thousands of websites linking back to Jim's website, hey, Jim's website must be really, really good. The problem with that, it's easy to game, right? So, and what would happen is there'd be these SEO companies, and if you ever come across one that does it, because they're still out there, run for the hills because it's a waste of time, and they'll charge you a lot of money. There'd be companies that do link building, right? So you'd hire them, and they might have an office in India with 1,000 guys putting link building every day on different websites, and that was how they would get you up in the search engine. I want to say in 2015, 2016, there was a penguin and a panda update. They called it penguin and panda, and you can look it up if you want to read about them in detail. But basically, in a nutshell, what those 2 updates did was totally switch it around, where now the algorithm's looking at your website to see if it's a good website with good information that's useful to the search, right? So the spiders that are crawling out on everyone's websites are way more powerful, and it's all about your website, less about what other websites are saying about you. It's more about what your website's saying and is useful to the client. So search engine optimization is still a thing, but it's not what it was. It is now about actually making sure your website is set up right, is set up correctly. Is it built right? Is it mobile friendly? Is it easy to use? Is the type easy to read? Are is there content on there that's relevant and interesting to people? There's loads of factors that go into it, but basically, if you build a really solid website that's attractive, that people can use and people go to regularly, that's going to end up being an optimized website, right? So you can.
Okay.
That's something that you can actually do yourself to a degree. But when you hire a company like ours, we actually look into that as well, and we go, okay, are we doing all the things that we need to do? There's probably a never-ending amount of things that you can do. The reality is, are you doing like 85% of the things that Google wants? Because that will make sure that you're not going to have too many problems. Because if you don't have a mobile-friendly site, if you don't have an easy-to-use site, if it's a bit of a mess, if there's not good information on there, Google starts penalizing you, and that's where you start dropping down. So it's where it used to go reward. It's now more of, okay, are you good? And if you're not so good, we're going to take a little bit off of you. So your
Okay.
ranking actually kind of like comes down rather than goes up.
Okay.
Because they really want you to spend money. They don't really give a crap about organic. I mean, because they don't make money off organic.
Mm-hmm.
There is benefits to you to get organic traffic, but the reality is, if you want to make real money, you want to be doing a good job with your paid advertising on those platforms, because that's where almost all the business goes through.
Gotcha. Okay. And then how do Google reviews play into that?
So Google reviews, there's 2 things with it. One is how we operate as people, but the other thing is how the algorithm operates with when it sees it. If there's a gym, if there's Jim Adams' gym and it has 100 5-star reviews and it's like highly rated, and then there's Andy Seeley's gym and there's 3 reviews and it's a 3-star rating, the algorithm will go, well, Jim's obviously doing a much better business and it's a much better organization. We're going to send traffic to, we're going to make sure his ads are coming up, and maybe even a little cheaper, right? We're going
Okay.
to allow him to get out there a little cheaper, because ultimately Google has no content apart from us. And what they want is they want the users to have the best experience possible. They don't want to send their users to Andy Seeley's crappy gym. They want to send it to Jim Adams' great gym, right? So the algorithm really does take into account Google. It does, and the Google algorithm actually takes into account Facebook's reviews as well. They actually look at Facebook reviews and takes that into account. Because if you've got a gym with loads of great reviews all over the place, then it knows, okay, Jim Adams' gym is the pro place, and if somebody's searching in his area, we're going to make sure that his ads are seen a lot more, but two, his organic reach is a lot better. On the flip side, from a user standpoint, just naturally, and we see this in the data all the time, is even if I've got 5-star reviews, but I've got 25 of them, and maybe we're going after the same keyword and pay-per-click, but Jim Adams has 200 5-star reviews. As a user, I'm going to go, okay, well, Andy's got 25 5-star reviews. Jim's got 200 5-star reviews. I'm probably going to, let's just go with Jim, because a lot more people are saying good things about him, right? And that actually speaks to another thing that people really forget about, is tenure, right? All the platforms, including Facebook, reward those that are doing good things for a longer period of time. So if you are the first guy that does things right in your local area, and then your competitors start going, well, what's Jim doing? He's always doing so well. Oh, well, let's just copy him. Let's just do what he's doing. And then they start doing it. The algorithms are always going to favor you because you were the first one that did it. Because their thought is, if you've been doing it for 4 years, Jim, you're a pro. You've been doing this. We know that you're consistent. If Andy comes on the scene and starts doing it 3 months ago, even though I'm doing everything as good as you are, you're still going to get rewarded by it. So if you do a really good job for a long period of time and you're the first one in, oftentimes it becomes an insurmountable competitive advantage that you have over your market, because the algorithms are, and it makes sense, right? Hey, Jim's been doing it great for 4 years. Andy's been doing it great for 4 months. Jim's probably out of the two. If we're saying one's better than the other, Jim's probably better than Andy, even though I might be, as a whole business, doing a much better job with you. Just from an algorithmic standpoint, the algorithm's going to point towards you a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So staying on top of that stuff. The other thing is managing your reputation. So if someone says a bad thing, gives you a bad review, don't get in there and get on their case. Respond to it like someone else, like let's say I piss you off and you go in there and say, that was a terrible experience. You were horrible. You were rude to me, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to write like I'm responding to you. I want to write like somebody else who's thinking about doing business is reading it. So I want to go, hey, I'm really sorry, Jim, that you had a bad experience. Please come in. We're going to do whatever we can to make this right for you. Blah, 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 blah. Even if you're thinking, no, this guy, I never want to see Jim in this place ever again. I want to write it like that person that's reading the response is going, okay, these guys seem reasonable, especially if I've got 100 good reviews. Yeah. Then it basically takes that out. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to contact Google and get rid of it. It feels real, and it feels like, okay, hey, if this guy was really upset and these guys seem very reasonable and trying to make it right, this is a good place to work for. Don't respond to the person who writes the bad review. Respond as though somebody else is reading it who might do business with you. That sometimes gets lost in the gym industry, especially when egos get ruffled and people want to like yell and scream at each other. Avoid that.
Yes.
It's just going to cost you money.
Yeah, I like that. And that's a very good point. I like that quite a bit, because a lot of times your response, somebody's outside making a snow angel right now. But a lot of times the way you respond could actually turn that bad review into a positive for you.
Yep.
Yeah. So absolutely. I like that. And then you were talking earlier about the online experts, and I talk about them all the time. You have people who take a ClickFunnels course, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, I can get you 100 new leads in 30 days or whatever. But the difference between those type of people making those claims and an actual agency is that those people have, think of it in football terms, they have one play. We're going to run this play. We're going to get you 100 leads in 30 days, but then that's it. That's all they got for you, you know, versus, so they just have a tactic, just one tactic. They don't have an overall strategy versus a firm like you guys. You guys are able to come at it with a whole overall big picture strategy that has many tactics depending on who you're going after, what time of year it is, what promo you're running, all of those things. And they can also give you back end support in building that system on how to convert those leads, because it doesn't matter how many leads you get if you can't convert any of them.
Right. And the funny thing is we've got clients and our system is very, like, the thing that we do for our clients, regardless of actually the kind of small business that it is, the process is very similar, whether it's a restaurant, a gym, an electrician, whatever, the process is very similar that we use because it works, right? Where things start getting a bit crazy is, you know, when, like we said before, is when, you know, a small business owner says, no, well, I want to focus on Google. Well, the reality is it's not about, you know, I always say to everybody that I talk to about, we're in the results business. We're not in the saving money business. You know, I can, like, if I charge you a crap ton of money, that's okay with you if you're making exponentially more crap tons of money, right? You don't care. If you're paying me $6,000 a month, you might be like, well, I'm paying Andy more than I would be paying anybody else if I work with anybody else. But if Andy's making me 600,000 a month, so what, right? It's kind of like it's a results business. And what we've found is using the multiple platforms, not just the tactics, because the tactics are kind of like, you know, the promos and stuff, that's always going to happen and whatever. But the strategy of using all the platforms or all of the processes together makes the sum of the parts greater than the individuals, right? So
synergistic effect.
Yep. Google working with Facebook, you know, because what ends up happening is, let's say we've got high intent searches coming through with Google where people are typing, hey, I want to work out. They click on your link, they click on your ad, they go to your website, they look at it, and then they, for some reason, don't do it, mate. They might have got distracted. They might, all sorts of reasons come up why people don't actually send a lead or inquiry through. If all you're doing is Google and nothing else, it pretty much goes and it's gone, right? And what else is going on? There is some remarketing capabilities with Google, but it's not super powerful, especially for small business. But what Facebook's great at is Facebook's Pixel will then pick up that Jim went to my website, and then Facebook starts marketing to a high intent client. Hey, we saw that you were in and blah, blah, blah. Here's 10%, you know, here's 10% off, or here's a free class or whatever. So we're continuing that life cycle of conversations, which means that you get a lot higher conversion from that high intent Google search, because it's then going into Facebook and Instagram. Then if you send me a lead, right? And then let's say you don't turn up or whatever happens with the lead, then it feeds into a good email campaign, and an email campaign's working on you too to extend that conversation time to give you even more chance of converting you into business. And all of that working together will you know, make a lot more things happen for your business. And a lot of times, you know, one guy is not going to be really good at Google. He's not going to be really good at Facebook. He's not going to be really good at email marketing. Then even in email marketing, there might be two specialists in there. There'll be the process specialist who builds out the chain of emails, but then there's going to be the copywriter that might not be very good at building out a chain of emails, but is great at copy, right? Then in Google, you got to have a good copywriter to write the ads, as well as an analytical guy to look at the numbers and pick what keywords are the perfect one. Again, it's a creative and an analyst, and those oftentimes don't come in a single person. Then you go over to Facebook, And it's that on steroids, because there's so many things that you can do on Facebook. There might be 3 different specialists in there. So to have that whole system going, you sometimes need at least 4 people who are really good at their little chosen area to actually make it all work. And, so while I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it knowing some amazing freelancers, and I feel bad saying it, but hey, they can work as a contractor for my company if they want. But avoid working with freelancers who are one person, because they're not good at maybe what they do, but like you said, they're a one-trick pony. Really, they might be somewhat okay or familiar with the other stuff, and they might be really good at they might be really good at copywriting, but they're not very good at the data analyst stuff. They might not be very good at audience building. They might not be very good at graphic design. They might not be very, or vice versa. They might be really good at audience building, but not the greatest copywriter. They might be very good at Facebook ads, but not very good at Google or email marketing. And I don't know, we don't have anybody in our organization that's amazing at all of those things. We have individual people that are amazing at specific things in those areas. And we put those guys together, and then all of a sudden you have an amazing campaign. And, I think when you're looking for who you're going to work with, while it's tempting to work with your best friend's girlfriend who's been doing Facebook ads and has a reputation for being decent at Facebook ads, you want to avoid that if you're serious about your business, and it's not just about supporting your friend's girlfriend. You've got to like look at this and go, okay, hey, she might be good at Facebook ads, but then I'm going to need someone else for Google. I'm going to need someone else for email marketing. And then all of a sudden you have a problem of 3 separate people doing separate things and not working together. And that's why oftentimes finding an agency is good. The other thing, which is a benefit from an agency standpoint to a freelancer standpoint, is what if the freelancer goes on vacation for 2 weeks? What if they get sick? What if they disappear? You hear stories of that all the time. Hey, I had a guy build my website, my web developer disappeared for 2 weeks. I needed some changes made and I couldn't get anything done, right? That's on steroids when it comes to Facebook, right? Especially if you're spending decent money. Some of our small business owners are spending $100 a day, right? What if the guy disappears on you for 2 weeks and you're spending $100 a day? That's $1,400 you've spent. That could be down the tube, right? Because there's no one else to talk to. So,
right.
My first,
and that's precious. That's precious dollars these days too.
Yep. So my first thing that I'd say is avoid the freelancer. Unfortunately, I say that knowing some wonderful people that are freelancers, but the freelancer for the business owner that wants to get some serious action going is not ultimately going to be a long-term good move for you. The other thing that I would highly suggest is make sure you look at reviews, right? Because we're a virtual agency, meaning we don't actually have an office space. I have staff in Idaho, California, Oregon, Texas, Colorado. Where else? I think, me in Arizona, team, some people in New Zealand. We're all spread and we're all working from home, right? So we're a virtual office, all knit together with Slack as our office space. That allows us to have really good people. We hire good people that are really good, not based on, is there good people in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area, right? That
Gotcha.
does it. So a lot of times I see virtual office agencies have a higher quality of staff because they can just pick the best person that they can find, no matter where they live, opposed to, hey, okay, I'm gonna get the best person I can find in Scottsdale, which is a lot less of a group of people to look for. Now, because we're virtual, if you search for us, we don't have a whole bunch of, because unfortunately the Google reviews are based on locations. So we actually, we decided to put in a location, which is just so anyone knows if they want to turn up, if they see the address, it's basically a PO box. But we decided we want to have reviews on Google, but we don't have huge amounts of Google. But if you go huge amounts of, I think we have like 12 or 13 reviews on Google for ourselves. All of them are pretty good. I think we have one that's not perfect. It's like a 3-star, but everyone else is 5-star. If you go to our Facebook page, we've got hundreds of reviews. or at least 140 or something reviews, and we have a 5 out of 5 across the whole thing. So look for agencies that aren't scared of having reviews being done. If you are looking at an ad agency, an online marketing agency, and you can't find a review anywhere, there's usually a reason behind that, because they know how important reviews are for their clients. They know it. If they're good at what they do in their marketing, they know what reviews are and how important they are to the algorithms. If they don't have reviews available, you've got to ask yourself, why would somebody who knows the importance of reviews not have reviews?
Right. Not
And that happens a lot. You'll find a
yeah,
lot of agencies with no reviews.
they're not drinking their own Kool-Aid.
Well, they're
Yeah,
not
I
just doing
agree.
that, they're probably pretty bad at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to, I know you have a great resource for trainers, and
Yep.
you were saying it before we started recording, and you can share the screen if you like, because I know that helped me
Sure.
because I'm a visual person. You want
Yep.
to share what that resource is and how people can get in touch with that. And then I can also provide the link in the show notes
Sure.
at
So
trainthegym.net.
I recommend, we have a thing called the Academy. So this is our regular website. So this is the homepage, creativelydisruptive.com. But if you click on what we teach, you can actually go down to the small business marketing course here. And there's a couple of courses that we do here, but this is the small business marketing course. And basically what this will do is teach you what we teach our staff. This course, and this is, I'm not selling you anything here, because here's the price. It's a pay what you can price. We decided to do this when the pandemic happened because it was important for us to support small businesses. And we're really, I mean, I don't have billions of dollars to just give to you guys to stay open, but I do have knowledge, and we do have things that we know that will help you. So what we did was that we turned our course that we used to train our interns and our new staff on how to do good work for our clients into a course that was that small business owners had access to. So what you can do is go to creativelydisruptive.com, then click on the link to the Small Business Marketing Academy. You can join the academy. If things are tough, don't pay us anything. Put zero in there, and get in there and start learning the basic knowledge that you need to actually start getting where you need to be. And once you start having some things happen, reach out to a company like us to actually take it to another level. Funnily enough, you'd think that everybody would pay zero, but our average is about $65. So there are a lot of people that have actually paid us for it. But I'm not going to ask anybody to pay, especially if they can't afford it. And like I said, what it literally is what we teach our staff. So it's not like just some course that we just threw up. Originally, it germinated from being a resource that wasn't open to the public, and our team would go and use it as a resource to learn how to do things, especially our new staff. And we've just turned it into a course for small business owners. So I highly recommend any of your listeners that are at least trying to understand what it's all about, to get in there, dig around, learn as much as you can. Worst case scenario is if you decide, you know what, this isn't for me. I really enjoy, helping build better bodies, so to speak. But I don't really want to do this. At least you'll know what gets done. So when you're talking to someone like us, you actually have some understanding of what's going on and what the process is, and you'll be able to like maybe sniff out the ones that aren't so good, and actually appreciate and understand what your good agency is doing for you. I think at the worst case scenario, you'll actually get that out of it. Best case scenario is maybe you love it and you turn into a marketing maniac, and you can actually start driving some real serious dollars back into your gym. So you can find it at creativelydisruptive.com. Then obviously go to the link up here, go to small business marketing course, and you just go in, join the academy, pay zero if that's what you can afford. Hey, I'm happy for you to pay me $1 million if you decide that you want to do that as well. But main thing is just get in there, start learning some of the stuff. This video here is a bunch of small business owners who were talking about what they got out of it. So even though it's zero, I still want you to know that it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a great resource and actually a great starting point and a jump off point
Yeah.
for a lot of people too, to see kind of what they're getting into and see if they, like you said, they really want to dig in and invest in some elbow grease, or if they want to say, you know what, I just want to focus on what I like to do and I'm going to let the experts handle this. Right. But
Yep.
at least you can make an informed decision.
Yep. And it's pretty
Yeah.
comprehensive. There's like 90 classes in there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Andrew, this has been great, man. Thanks again for taking the time.
Well,
And as always, I always wrap up with 3 questions, and it is my favorite part of the show because we get to go up into your crazy little Doctor Who like attic up there,
right. Look at this.
and pick your brain. So my first question is, what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you weren't going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons from it that propelled you to greater success down the road.
Yeah, I would say we had a really tough time during the Great Recession in 2008 with our gym. We ended up selling it for less than we purchased it for. Thankfully, we didn't have to close it down. Tremendous financial stress. It was really, 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 really tough. And basically, I came away going, okay, we let go of the gym. That was a failure. My God, what I think it did was it was an amazing education on the brutality of being a small business owner in the toughest time, and it gave me a very strong sense of what small business owners have to deal with, and a real sense of understanding, I want to say, of what they are. And it probably really motivated me, and it's energized me to this day to make sure that we can help as many small businesses avoid that kind of situation. That I felt I had that period where I couldn't go to sleep. It was 2 a.m. in the morning looking at the ceiling, trying to figure out how to pay staff, trying to figure out how to pay leases. I think that experience, which at the time was heartbreakingly stressful, put stress on my marriage, everything, all the bad things that happen when things are really, really rough, and ended up, losing money on getting the gym out of our life, which felt like a tremendous loss. Ultimately, I think it's been the driving force of the success of Creatively Disruptive. Really thought, like, when I talk to a guy like you who owns a small business, I really understand what's at stake and you winning, and it drives me, and that in turn drives my staff, because I'm very passionate about making sure that small business owners are taken care of, because I know that every penny that you have needs to do something. And I think that's probably driven a lot of the success that Creatively Disruptive has today, because we are very passionate about making sure that small business owners are taken care of. So I would say that would be and it felt like a terrible failure. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible at the time, but it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fueled this business in a
Yeah.
very strong sense.
Yeah. I like that answer. That's a great answer. I like that. My next question is, since your time in the fitness industry and COVID is exempt, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you did not see coming?
Outside of COVID, because I don't think anybody could have planned that.
No.
I think it's the importance of technology. I think back in the day, because we first got our gym in the early 2000s when Facebook wasn't a thing, didn't even know about it, and you still maybe did searches on Netscape, and Yahoo when Yahoo was the big dominant force, right, in 2004. Back then, it was really, a lot of the advertising was local events, being and local events, community events, or being in a coupon book, or having ads on the paper and stuff like that. I think something that I probably at the time back in the day, if I look forward, which I would be surprised about, is the importance of that computer, right? These things weren't even around back then, though. I had a flip phone in 2004, a pretty cool Razor flip
Right.
phone,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
We didn't have the importance of mobile phones. I think when I look back, if I as the Andy in 2004 to the Andy in 2021, I think I'd be really, really, really surprised about the importance of technology, and the difference it makes to do it well. I mean, you can have gyms that are that are amazing staff, amazing experience, amazing equipment, all of that stuff. If they're not online right now, they're going to struggle. You
Yeah.
can have an average gym with average staff and they're doing a great job online, they will be successful. And that's surprising. That would have been surprising to the 2004 Andy. It would have been, hey, if you do a really good job and you do all the things in the gym perfectly, people are going to come. It's not the way. They just won't know that you exist, and they'll be going
Yeah.
down to the crappy gym down the road who's doing a good job with the online marketing.
Right. I like that. Another great answer. All right. And then my last one is, where do you go for your personal and professional development?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm trolling the internet constantly. A lot of it is online, obviously. I don't go to a place. I'm part of we're part of multiple groups, I actually work as a coach in a online marketing academy. So I actually teach agency owners a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. And that same academy is full of very successful agency owners. So, and we all collaborate and talk about, hey, what are you doing with iOS 14? What are you doing? It's a very open discussion kind of community. It's a high dollar entry fee. It's like, $10,000 to be a part of the community. But it's a major, and that's another differentiating factor oftentimes with agencies compared to freelancers, is that we spend about $37,000 a year on learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
On making sure we are up to date, because if we're not up to date, we don't know what we're talking about. So a lot of it is Google, a lot of it is reading, a lot of it is communication with other agency owners. A lot of it is some of the paid groups and organizations that we are part of to stay cutting edge. As a CEO of Creatively Disruptive, I'm a lot less technical. My partner, who's the COO, is way more technical than I am. So I spend a lot more time in the strategic kind of visionary kind of approach, trying to look into the future to see what's coming down the pipeline. I highly recommend any CEO or business owner of a gym to do the same, to be constantly, spend an hour working on your business, not in it. Spend an hour a day looking for what's coming down. Get yourself up to date with online digital marketing, at least knowing a broad strategic things that are going on, so you're not blindsided and you can maybe keep ahead of the curve and start reaching out to experts to stay ahead of things. And that's what I do. There's a lot of good resources out there. There's so many good resources. It's hard to say, but there's so many moving parts that I probably have 20 different places that I'm constantly looking at that are equally as important. But most of it is, I've got to say, it kind of like starts off with hearing a news article come out saying iOS 14 is coming out and it's going to be kicking Facebook's butt. And then I go, okay, well, I need to start looking into this. And then there's emails that start flowing and conversations start happening. And because unfortunately with Facebook and Google and all the platforms, they don't say we're going to do this and this is the effect that's going to it just suddenly starts happening. And we've got to go, okay, what do we do with this? And
Right.
There's lots of research and development. So, in a nutshell, I know it's a very vague answer, but be active on Google and be curious and sign up to some good YouTube channels that talk about marketing and different things. Look for courses that you can get involved with, both paid and some unpaid courses are quite good. Get involved with groups. There's a lot of very good groups online. We run two groups, one marketing for restaurants, one marketing for kids activity centers. Funnily enough, like gymnastics gyms, dance studios and so forth. and there's 3,500 people in there. I know there's multiple groups on Facebook that are very similar, that are gym, like fitness gym focused. Be part of those things, be part of those discussions. And that will keep you up to date. But I feel like that's a wishy-washy answer compared to the other two.
No. I think I liked it. I think it was very comprehensive, because it's hard, because everybody's different, right? And they want different things. They go after different demographics. They offer different services, all of those things. So you got to find what works for you.
And remember this, 15 years ago, Facebook didn't exist. 15 years ago, Facebook was not important to anybody, right? 15 years from now, there might be something else that we don't know that's germinating right now. And you want to try and be able to see, okay, what's coming? Where are we at? What's coming down the pike? There might be nothing, there might be something. So, you don't know what you don't know. So you got to keep your eye out and be very open-minded to things. Don't jump on bandwagons too quick as a small business owner. It usually leads to heartache. But at least know what's going on and have your finger on the pulse. And that's why I say to all of the businesses that I've coached from a CEO standpoint is spend at least an hour, probably 2 hours every day just working on your business, understanding the effects of what's going on outside might have on your business. Prepare for it. Don't spend all your time working in your business. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep. It's a 1,000-foot view instead of, the soldier on the ground.
Right.
There's a reason the general sits back, because then he could see the whole battlescape and what's going on and respond appropriately or adjust appropriately. Yep. That's the same concept. Well, Andrew, this has been great. So where can people go if they want to reach out to you, get more information, all that good stuff?
I used to say go to Twitter, but I hate Twitter and I'm never on there. So I'm not going to say. You could go to Andy Disruptive on Twitter, but I'm not posting a whole bunch of stuff on there. I kind of just forward some stuff on there. I hate to say people go there because I'm not a big fan of what Twitter is all about, and I'm not on there a lot. You can find me personally probably as a better place would be Instagram, I guess. Not that I'm posting a lot, but I do interact a lot in there with people. If they reach out, I'll see your message, and I can chat. And you can type in Andy Seeley, you'll be able to probably find me. There's a photo of my son's face looking very confused. That's my it's not very professional, but it's like like this of a little 3-year-old, I think, or 2-year-old, I think, when we took the photo. And you can connect with me there. Let me just see what the call name is, so I can give that to you guys. I should know. I just recently changed it. It is here it is. It is well, just Andy Seeley, it looks like. Andy Small Business Champion. So go there. Otherwise, go to creatively-disruptive.com or go to Creatively Disruptive on Facebook. Very active there. You can message us. At least the team will be able to respond and contact you there. Or you can reach out to team@creatively-disruptive.com and we'll be able to help.
Perfect. And all those links will be in the show notes. Just go to trainergym.net, click on this episode of the podcast, and all the links to contact Andy or get more information will be right there. Andy, enjoy that warm weather in Arizona. And I'm going to enjoy the snow here. So have a good rest of your day, man.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Okay. See ya.